We are live, except for Spatry. He's a coffee zombie. I guess the coffee isn't working, is it, Spatry?
You know, it's funny, Toss, because, this week I got sick twice from drinking too much coffee. I guess my body's starting to have a reaction to all that caffeine. And, it's Sunday night news and nonsense. Hi, everybody. How you doing, Toss?
I'm doing good. Let me just say briefly, congratulations to the Denver Broncos. They are going to the Super Bowl. And speaking of Super Bowls, how come there isn't like a KDE Bowl, like a Linux Mint Bowl? That's not fair.
Well, the thing is, give it another year or two, because we've got so much news this year already in the Linux world. It's amazing all the news that's been coming out. I have to ask you, Toss, are you using Google Chrome?
I use it sometimes, yes.
Okay, well, I've got a reason for you not to use it, and this is going to blow you guys away when you hear this.
NSA, everybody loves the NSA. Let me just say it, okay?
No, we're not there yet, but we'll get to that later.
Okay.
Okay, adware vendors buy Chrome extensions to send ad and malware-filled updates. One of the coolest things about Chrome is silent automatic updates that always ensure that users are always running the latest version. While Chrome itself is updated automatically by Google, that update process also includes Chrome's extensions, which are updated by the extension owners. This means that it's up to the user to decide if the owner of an extension is trustworthy or not, since you are basically giving them permission to push new code out to your browser whenever they feel like it. To make matters worse, ownership of a Chrome extension can be transferred to another party, and users are never informed when an ownership change happens. Malware and adware vendors have caught wind of this and started showing up at the doors of extension authors looking to buy their extensions. Once the deal is done and the ownership of the extension is transferred, the new owners can issue an ad-filled update over Chrome's update service, which sends the adware out to every user of that extension. So are you going to continue using Chrome with that in mind?
I'm going back to my safe house, Internet Explorer 10.
There you go. So,
Microsoft to the rescue. Yeah, right.
Absolutely. The NSA is buying up those extensions. Hey, guess what, Toss? I think you're going to like this one.
Okay.
From the OMG Ubuntu website, apparently Ubuntu 12.04 beats Windows and Mac in GCHQ security report. GCHQ's information security arm reviewed 11 of the most popular end-user OSs against a 12-point list of security criteria. Google's Android, Apple's Mac OS X, and Microsoft Windows 7, 8, and RT were among systems that were compared. So apparently, Ubuntu 12.04 LTS was the only operating system to fully pass 9 of the 12 listed security recommendations. Yes. Interesting article. Just hit omgubuntu.co.uk. You can easily find the article right there. I thought that was very interesting.
Well, yeah, it's no secret that my number one reason for using Linux is security. I do feel more secure using Linux. It's kind of ironic because one of the last polls I did, what was the best Linux operating system for Windows users, and Ubuntu came in almost last. Poor Ubuntu cannot get any respect. Yeah.
So, it just stands to reason, some people might have some issues with, Ubuntu, is it really that secure with the shopping lenses, that sort of thing? Well, I personally
turn it off.
think
turn them off. Yeah.
Just turn those off. But I mean, that's got to say a lot about GNU Linux because, Linux has always been well known for its security and that sort of thing.
Yes.
Okay. Well, it appears that Intel is set to lay off 5% of its workforce, cutting 5,000 workers, removing 5,000 jobs in 2014.
Ouch.
In an industry that's becoming more competitive with the rise of mobile devices, Intel has announced that it is set to cut 5% of its workforce, or approximately 5,000 jobs, said Intel spokesman Chris Krautner. This is part of aligning our human resources to meet business needs. The news comes after a recent slide in the sales of traditional PCs, even though the company's last earnings report suggested that the market had stabilized somewhat.
Look, it appears, and we talked about this, that the hottest selling items are Chromebooks, the supposedly non-existent, non-real laptops. I mean, people got to realize that maybe they're not full functioning machines, but they still can do many things that a regular laptop can do. Yeah, I mean, the PC market hasn't been very good the last couple of years, Patry. Maybe it has stabilized. Really, I don't know.
Yeah. Now, something I'd like to point out is that that some of these cuts will entail will include voluntary separations in some cases, and retirements in others. Intel's chief financial officer Stacy Smith highlighted the move by Intel to increase investments in data centers and in low-powered chips, which may be found in mobile devices. So yes, a lot of everything is going into mobile, that sort of thing. Hopefully, if you're voluntarily leaving and you're getting a severance or something like that, that could be a good thing. But if you're being, given the pink slip, well, don't know what to tell you there.
Yeah, I hear you.
What you got, Toss?
Oh, well, let's see. I got some news here about Ubuntu. Apparently, the next version of Ubuntu, trusty Tar, in their repositories, you will be able to download the Mate desktop environment.
Absolutely.
I think that's terrific. Linux Mate, one of my favorites. I have that actually in 2 of my laptops. There's something about the old GNOME 2 look, or, something that looks like it. The ability to right click on a panel, add applets like the weather and this and that, a simple version of a Linux-based operating system. Mate is very popular. I think Cinnamon will be popular, but no surprise there. So there you go.
Yeah, I've always liked the ability to customize the old GNOME 2 desktop, and so, they forked it. They've got the Mate desktop now. Yeah. I haven't had a chance to look at it since, as it's really matured, or, to play with it extensively, because I decided, I was one of those people that jumped over to XFCE, and I've been happy with it, and I've been using it ever since. And I have looked at some Linux distributions that do have Mate, but never really sat down and played with it long enough, to really see what kind of changes, to see if any real improvements have been made, other than, making a few, cosmetic changes or anything to that. So, yeah.
It is very newbie friendly. That's why I recommend that, along with Zorn and Ubuntu, if you want to try something different. Of course, there are other ones such as Ping iOS and so on. But yeah, check out the latest versions of Linux Mint. All right, let's see what else I have. Well, speaking of Ubuntu stills, Patry, apparently we did get word, remember, was it last week, 2 weeks ago, about Ubuntu phones coming out this year by various manufacturers. Apparently there is an update that may have been postponed until next year. Somewhat disappointing. No official announcement. Yeah, one of the associates from Ubuntu hinted that it may not be this year. Nothing for sure, but that would be a bit of a disappointment. Still good news that Ubuntu phone or phones are coming. I was kind of hoping this year, though.
Well, the thing is, though, they want to wait till they have a good, solid product, and that is number one. And,
yes.
For the end consumer, they want a good product that's stable, that's user friendly and that sort of thing. And so, if they need to take a little bit more time, to ensure that they're putting out a good premium product, rather than, how Microsoft is, let them download updates and that sort of thing, there are some companies out there that want to put out a product, put out software, that's going to work 100% and, not be a hassle for end users. And speaking of mobile devices, Apple Incorporated will provide full consumer refunds of at least $32.5 million to settle FTC complaint it charged for kids' in-app purchases without parental consent. Apple Incorporated has agreed to provide full refunds to consumers paying that minimum to settle a Federal Trade Commission complaint that the company billed consumers for millions of dollars of charges incurred by children in kids' mobile apps without their parents' consent. Apparently, they had these softwares, and we talked about this before, Toss. They had they had these softwares, for kids, and I guess that they just clicked something in the game so that they could get that extra feature. Exactly. So
it sounds like a fair settlement, I would say. Yeah.
Absolutely. And now we can sing your favorite song, Toss. NSA, NSA, everybody loves the NSA. Well, you'll remember last week I says, that President Obama called for changes to NSA's surveillance program, and he did make a speech, and I'm going to give you some of the quotes that were stated there. Quote from the president: "We have made some important decisions about how to protect ourselves and sustain our leadership in the world while upholding the civil liberties and privacy protections that our ideals and our Constitution require." He also went on to say later on, "The reforms I'm proposing today should give the American people greater confidence that their rights are being protected, even as our intelligence and law enforcement agencies maintain the tools they need to keep us safe."
Well, look, I have no problem with keeping our country secure for all of us. Now, when I mean all of us, Windows users, Linux families, I'm all for it. And I understand there may be some questionable ways to do that. Look, we are on the outside trying to speculate what really happens on the inside. So for this, I will cut the president a little bit of slack. However, what is the cost of security? Can it be too high? Evidently so. However, with me and us being on the outside, pure speculation, I feel relatively secure when I leave the house or out with my son and family. So, there is a price for that. I just hope, especially, that the price is not too high.
Yeah. We have no, and the thing is, I went through and I read a few articles on this, and everything that the president was saying was still kind of vague. So, how do we know that he's just not, saying a few words to ease us? Know. And behind our backs, the government's still doing the same thing. So,
it's a tough call. I mean, if you're president, certain things have to be classified. I understand that.
Absolutely.
But how far do you go when you lose your, freedom of privacy for security? Where is that balance? Honestly, I don't know. We seem to be secure so far. If that's the price to pay, then maybe that's the way it has to be. But there's always going to be questions. So
absolutely. All right, let's move on to a little bit of gaming here. Valve working on GNU Linux native open source OpenGL debugger. And Jones Super writes, OpenGL debugging has always lagged behind DirectX, mainly because of the excellent DX graphics debugging tools shipped with Visual Studio and GL being left with Appit Race. Valve's Linux initiatives are making game companies to think about OpenGL. The video game company wants to create a good open source OpenGL debugger to improve the ecosystem. AMD and NVIDIA have already expressed interest in helping them out. Valve has been developing what they call Voggle or Valve OpenGL, mostly on Ubuntu-based distributions under Qt Creator. The software currently supports tracing OpenGL 1.0 through 3.3 core incompatibility and is expected to eventually support OpenGL 4. Many more details on Voggle can be found on Valve's Rich Geldrich's blog.
Okay.
And in related news, Valve is open to EA putting their Origin on SteamOS. And for those of you who do not know what Origin is, this is EA's game distribution platform. And so, Valve has been, is open to the idea of Origin being able to port that over so that it will work on SteamOS so that they can have a platform with which to distribute their games. And obviously, it's going to be a great thing for the Linux community as well, because then we'll be able to get EA's games as well on our operating system. So good stuff.
Well,
indeed.
It does appear that the future of gaming in Linux looks pretty bright. I'm curious to see where this this thing between Wayland versus Mir, how this works out in this whole display driver, video driver world. It's that remains to be seen. But I'm curious to see how this works out in the end. But as far as gaming in Linux, I don't do a lot of games in PC, as you know. Sometimes, of course, the Xbox handles all my needs. But gaming and Linux, it's here. So.
Yeah, it's funny. I just had a look at the recent Humble Bundle, and I just picked up Strike Zoot Zero because I like my space combat sims. Boy, that game looks awesome, and that's the thing.
I'll
I love
take your word for it. Okay.
Yeah. Well, the thing is, I'm just loving gaming on Linux more and more and more. And the thing is, we just got another graphics driver update. Everything is just running smoothly on my system. I love the refresh rates and everything, and how well the games play. I mean, I'm just loving it to bits.
Cool.
Yeah,
well,
it seems like games play better in Linux than they do on Windows, But, to the listeners out there, your mileage may vary.
Absolutely. Well, speaking of games, I have some Microsoft news. I just got word of this just a few days ago. Apparently, the voice of Halo is coming to the Microsoft Xbox One and to the Windows 8 phones and mobile platform. The character of Cortana. Played by the wonderful voice actress. I want to get her name right. I believe it's Jennifer or Jen Taylor. She does the sexy voice of Cortana. Her voice, I guess it's going to be their answer to Apple's Siri, but she's going to be the voice of the Xbox One machine and the mobile platforms. Actually, Spatry, I think that's a terrific idea. I think they had other people in mind instead of Cortana. I think they had in mind Hannah Montana, Tony Montana, Joe Montana, but it just didn't work out. I would have preferred the voice of the Borg. We are the Borg. You will be assimilated into Windows 8. Resistance. Anyway.
Speaking of Microsoft, earlier this morning, I should say, I was reading an article and I couldn't believe when I saw this. They were saying that 30% of Windows users are still running Windows XP. And that leads us to our next article. ATMs face deadline to upgrade from Windows XP. Now, $1 bills, envelope-free deposits, stamp dispensers. These are a few of the features that Wells Fargo, Bank of America, JP Morgan, Chase, and other banks tout as the latest and greatest features of their fleets of ATMs. It's hardly stuff to set the heart racing. Now, inside these ATMs is a computer, and like all such devices, each one runs an OS.
Well, duh.
Microsoft's 12-year-old Windows XP dominates the ATM market, powering more than 95% of the world's machines, and similar percentage in the U.S., according to Robert Johnson, a marketing director at NCR, the largest ATM supplier in the United States. So, yeah, apparently, Microsoft will be selling custom tech support agreements that extend the life of Windows XP, although the cost can soar quickly, multiplying by a factor of 5 the second year, says Corolla. JP Morgan is buying a 1-year extension and will start converting its machines to Windows 7 in July. About 3,000 of its 19,000 ATMs need enhancements before the process can begin, according to spokeswoman Patricia Wexler. A Wells Fargo spokesman says the company is working with Microsoft and ATM manufacturers to upgrade its machines.
Well, look, these companies knew what was coming. They were warned years ago. I don't blame Microsoft on this. In fact, I give Microsoft credit for having an OS that has lasted this long with the proper updates. So kudos to Microsoft for that. Windows 7, I use it. No blue screens appear, blue screens. Yeah, screens. No screen, no blue screens. You do the screaming, not me. But, look, they had fair warning. And if they want to buy a 1-year extension, if that's their choice until they upgrade to Windows 7, certainly. I just hope it's going to be as secure as possible, but if that's the way they want to do business, I have no problem with that.
Now, interestingly enough, many of these ATMs, though, are using a scaled-down version of Windows XP called Embedded, Windows XP embedded, and that will have support until 2016 in another related article that I was reading. But for those of you who are still running Windows XP and you absolutely refuse to switch, the good news is that if you're using Microsoft Windows security products, you will have support for those until July 14th of 2015. And that would be for its the name is on the tip of my tongue right now. I don't see it in the article here, but they have their own security. Microsoft Security Essentials. Yes, that will continue to get support, but you will not get support. Product support.
I don't think it'll be the full security deal. Really, it's nice to have a little bit of like a reprieve for Windows XP users, but you really should considering upgrade to Windows 7 or maybe Linux. I mean, you'll have some of that extension, like you said, but from what I read, it won't be the full security patch, as it were.
Now, get this, kids. This is from Redmond Magazine, dated just a few days ago, January 16th. Get this. Here they're going to put an end to this operating system, and this is something they should have done years ago. Microsoft quietly fixes Windows XP Resource Hog problem. Microsoft indicated this week that it has fixed a Windows XP Resource Hog problem associated with the system service host exe process. Windows XP users affected by this problem typically found that the operating system was using up the system resources for 15 minutes to an hour after startup, making it difficult to use the machine during that period. The Microsoft Update team had vowed last month to send the holiday break tackling the issue, which has plagued some users for many years. The fix involved stopping the system from perpetually checking Internet Explorer updates. Microsoft indicated the fix was rolled out on Tuesday.
Well, I suppose, Patrick, in a few months it really won't make any difference, will it? Let's move on to nonsense, shall we?
Oh, well, hold on. I got a humdinger for you then. Okay. Using nanotechnology to build thinner, stronger condoms.
We are Borg. All right, go ahead.
HughPickens.com writes, Discovery Magazine reports that the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation has granted $100,000 to Boston University School of Medicine and Boston Medical Center to develop a nanoparticle coating for condoms that will make them more comfortable and stronger while simultaneously keeping them thin to preserve and increase sensation in order to make them more appealing to use.
Excuse me, but I want no robots on my Tiny Johnson. I'm sorry. Oh, boy. Well, let me see what I have here that's not that crazy.
But this is true news, though.
Well, of course it's true. I mean, if there's truth is stranger than fiction, right? Spatry, have you heard of Google Moon? I mean, there's Google Earth.
Yes,
there's Google Moon. Well, apparently Google Moon, they have found what appears to be on the moon a triangular-shaped craft with some kind of rows of lights. Here we go with the conspiracy theory. Do a search on this. It's there. From what I see, it certainly does look like a non-artificial, object. You know what? One of these nights, we should do a show just on the theory of aliens and if it's true and the possibility and all that. But I found it fascinating. Just do a Google search or Yahoo search. Google Moon finds triangular shaped craft on moon. And let me know what you guys see. Let's see what else we have here. Oh, one last thing. This is actually down your alley, down where you live, down in Florida. Apparently, Spatry, a young man on a skateboard, walks into a Target. Boy, poor Target can't catch a break. He steals a big screen TV and wheels it out on his skateboard, successfully stealing the TV and is yet to be found.
Imagine that. What size TV was this?
32-inch, and I believe here it is. The skateboard was powered by KDE. Well, there you go. No, I'm just kidding. No, but if you do a search on this, there is video surveillance tape that was released, and this young man, like he owned the store, just walks in, thump, picks out the TV, grabs it, puts on a skateboard, and there he goes. So maybe that'll be like a new sports show, stealing TVs on skateboards or something. Yeah.
Yeah, that sounds like a comedy skit I saw on SCTV many years ago called "Take the Money and Run." You know, and
take the TV and run, right?
You know, and they got this golden idol and everything, and there's a bunch of cannibals standing around, you know, and the guy goes and takes the idol and get him. Never mind. Okay, yeah, you had to be there to see it.
Okay, well, honestly, that's all I have for tonight. Yeah.
All right. Well, before we go, I have an announcement. Balmer Peak, who is an admin on my forums and chat, and he's also an upstanding member of the Linux distro community, has a giveaway. And he's got this Logitech 5.1 surround system that has been, you know, used, but he's giving this away. And all you have to do is hit the link in the show notes that I'll have below to visit the linuxdistrocommunity.com forums. You'll need to put in a number anywhere between 1 and 1,000 to enter. This giveaway is only available to participants who live in the contiguous United States, apparently, because of shipping costs and that sort of thing. But yeah, he's got a 5.1 surround sound system, so good luck to one and all. Sign up to win, and remember, you don't win if you don't play. And that's all I have, and
well, you know, when it comes to computer speakers, you really need something than the old, you know, little speakers that have built in the monitor battery. They just don't cut it, like, especially trying to listen to us in stereo. That's just not going to work, is it? No.
Yeah, I've got a surround sound plugged into my laptop and that sort of thing. But hey, I signed up for it because, hey, I can hook this up to the TV in the living room or something like that, you know, because the speakers in the TV that I have are awful.
Well,
you know?
mostly, yeah. I hear you. Just one last thing. I have a new poll out quickly. Vote for what you believe to be the best Linux desktop environment. I'll have links below in the show notes. You voted, the last poll was for Linux Mint, for the best Linux OS for Windows users. And right now, not necessarily just for Windows users or beginners, but what do you think, you folks, is the best desktop environment? Right now, Spatry, on my desktop, I have Ubuntu. I log out and log into Linux Mint Cinnamon and XFCE. And that's the beauty of Linux. It is highly customizable. So there you go.
Okay, and I didn't get a chance to cast my vote in your poll, so I'm going to go with Linux Lite version 1.08 just released. That is my personal favorite in terms of the best replacement for Windows XP. So if you are using Windows XP and you're looking for a great alternative, you should check out Linux Lite. It uses the XFCE desktop, which is very easy to customize, and it has excellent documentation on the CD. I mean, you know, you don't even have to go online.
Yes, it looks pretty nice and pretty zippy. It should be easy for beginners. Absolutely.
Absolutely. And you can use one of the launchers in the menu to open up IRC or open up Mumble, and you can chat with people on here live, or you can chat, or you just do text chat on IRC. You know, it's all set up, ready to go. And, you know, one of the best user-friendly distros is based on Ubuntu 12.04. But it has a newer kernel. It's now touting Linux 3.8 kernel. So yeah, good stuff indeed. Cool. I'd like to take this time to thank you, Toss, and I'd like to thank Voltam and the Linux distro community for having us. Thank you, everybody who's been participating on IRC and joining us in the listening room. We'll be back, I guess, next week for another News and Nonsense report. Yes. Thank you, all of you, for joining us, and we'll see you next time.
Yep, we'll see you. We'll catch you guys next week. Just a very brief reminder: you do not have to be. You can be, rather, if you are just a Windows user and thinking about Linux. You are welcome to join. This community is open to all. So thank you once again.
Absolutely.
Yep, man. We'll see you next week. Ciao.
Arrivederci.
Boy, that didn't sound convincing.
Get off my mumble, Toss.
Adios, muchacho.